Lord forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack make it backflip. Telly Hank it with the action. With the Vato speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby May. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
In 1990, Washington, D.C. saw more than 470 homicides, earning it the label murder capital of the U.S.
What's that about, man?
It is what it is, man. You know, she was fucking with them boys back in Lincoln back in the day. She used to fuck with the kid daddy. You know, God bless his dead daddy. Was a real big nigga out here. Oh, he got killed and shit back in the day.
During the 1980s and the 1990s, it's a plethora of names that would emerge from the New York streets with tales of selling kilos, getting money, and having. Names like Fritz, Rich Porter, Fat Cat Nichols, Danny Diamonds, Alpo, almost too many to name. But one of those names that get mentioned, and a person that I got countless requests to cover, is going to be a guy by the name of Daddy, or Daddy-O, from Abraham Lincoln houses, or let's just say Harlem, because as this story will show you, he wasn't relegated to one section.
Wagner was the main attraction for dice games, 50 G's in the bank. All the well-known players came through, from Daddy to Carlton Hines, Rich Porter to Alpo, showing off their new cars, visiting friends, and the baddest chicks in the game knew that Wagner was the meeting ground for the players.
Now, most of the talk you will hear online today about Daddy would be his supposed relationship with now reality star Chrissy Lumpkin, who is now with Jim Jones, but in the past had been rumored to date or either be associated with high-profile ballers and entertainers, Daddy being one of them. A situation that Max B would speak on in a widely publicized interview before he would be arrested on murder charges during his feud with Jim Jones.
It is what it is, man. You know, she was fucking with them boys back in Lincoln back in the day. She used to fuck with the kid daddy. You know, God bless his dead daddy. Was a real big nigga out here. Oh, he got killed and shit back in the day. She went stole the nigga money out of her, man, you know. Niggas kicked the bitch teeth out, man. All this shit fake. True story, man. I know, I'm from Lenox, man. She from Lenox Terrace, so she right down the block from me, like. Right. So, all this shit is like, I ain't out here. I'm a real nigga, man. I keep it tall, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
During the late 1980s, Daddy was said to be one of the guys really getting it in Harlem, and in the city for that matter. Him, Hector, Boogie, just how much money? He was rumored to give Baby J, or Baby Maine, who is said to be related to Boogie and already known in the streets, but made famous from his deadly feud with Mace, his start in the game. And if you ever seen anything on Baby J, you heard about the amount of money that they said that he made in his 2-year run. And during his time in the streets, he would cross paths with some of those well-known names that I mentioned earlier. One of them, deceased now himself, would claim that he would give Daddy some advice that probably would have saved his life.
Was it a lot of New Yorkers in and out of D.C. that Wayne Perry or anyone was like, yo, there's some New Yorkers down here, we're gonna kill them? See, now that, you know what? I didn't let that happen. If I knew about a New Yorker coming to D.C. and I knew them, I would step to them first and let them know, like, look, you need to be real careful down here. You need to, I don't know if you ever heard this kid named Daddy-O. Daddy-O? Yeah, Spanish kid named Daddy. Okay. He's a Spanish kid. He's Mexican. I don't know if you ever ran into this girl named Chrissy. Yeah, I heard of Chrissy. Okay, Chrissy was the young, bad little girl everybody was. So, anyway, the girl Chrissy was with this kid Daddy. She was with this kid Daddy. Now this kid Daddy came on down to DC and I told him, I said, yo, whatever you do, don't come down here with a bunch of New Yorkers. over and all that. Because you're going to cause yourself problems. Right. Surround yourself with some good DC dudes and feed them, make sure they eat, and you're going to be all right. They're going to protect you. Right. He came down with a whole bunch of New Yorkers. And they wind up playing them out and wind up leaving them in DC. He left DC in a body bag.
With the crack game getting more competitive from the mid-1980s to the early 1990s, and hustlers looking for expansion that would lead them right to Washington, D.C. And if you're asking yourself, why D.C.? Why not?
The year is only 60 days old. During that time, there have now been 92 homicides here in the District of Columbia. The 92nd occurred this evening. Last year, 60 to 80% of the murders in the nation's capital were listed as drug-related. This is a city which has one of the toughest gun control laws in the nation, a city which has 4,000 of its own police and a total of 14,000 federal law enforcement officers, FBI agents, Capitol Police, Secret Service, Park Police, Drug Enforcement agents, Supreme Court Police, Library of Congress Police. Of course, the homicides here in D.C. don't happen at the Library of Congress, or at the Supreme Court, or at the U.S. Senate, or the White House, or at the embassies, which are guarded by the uniformed branch of the Secret Service. The murders, almost all of them, are committed in the black ghettos of Washington, which are like a combat zone, as alien to most white Washingtonians as Beirut or San Salvador.
Washington is now the murder capital of America, and possibly the drug capital, too. The district has about 625,000 residents. Every year, it arrests about 21 drug suspects for every 1,000 residents. In New York, the number is only 12 per 1,000. In Los Angeles, it is 10 per 1,000. Young blacks want to emulate. Instead of making $4 an hour at McDonald's, they say, they can make $4,000 a week selling drugs. What many blacks see in Washington is something tourists never notice. Two cities, poor black sections and affluent white enclaves.
Unfortunately for Daddy and hundreds of other out-of-towners, they would arrive in D.C. at a time that was the city's most dangerous in its history. And not only that, with a reputation that preceded them, some people would even say that New Yorkers weren't welcome, period. And countless young niggas that had thoughts about coming up in D.C. would end up losing their lives. In just 3 years during the crack era, Washington would experience more than 1,379 homicides. And just to do my best to put things in perspective for you guys, during the war in Iraq, in which the United States would invade the country and overthrow its president, Saddam Hussein, the United States would go on to suffer more than 2,046 casualties, with 1,926 of those fatalities occurring during battle. So in 2 decades, the United States, whom would invade a country, overthrow their president, and have boots on the ground for 20 years, would only suffer 500 less casualties than those that occurred in Washington, D.C. during just 3 years of the crack era. 1991, which had 482 homicides, 1992, which had 443 homicides, and 1993, which had 454 homicides. And to top it off, neither of those years that I named was the year that Washington, D.C. would be named the murder capital of the nation. According to a few close sources, Daddy was said to have lose his life in 1992 when the city was said to experience those 443 homicides. Not much is mentioned about his death, but Alpo would go on to insinuate that he would head down to D.C. with a boatload of city dudes, where he would suggest that they end up playing him and leaving him down there. So with that statement, it's no telling if the dudes that he went down to D.C. with did him dirty, or if he just ended up being swallowed by the city in this very, very violent time in its history. Y'all make sure y'all hit the red bell and subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real, trill, spill shit is dropping. Anybody with knowledge of this situation, y'all head to the comment box downstairs, shed some insight. If y'all was in D.C. and around the mid-1980s to the early 90s, especially from out of town, y'all tap in. I almost want to talk to y'all directly. Y'all make sure y'all let me know what cities we need to go to, what stories we tell, what we missed, what we got wrong, all of that. Hit me directly, Instagram, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. And until the very next time, y'all know the rundown. It's nothing but bulletproof love for y'all. Shit, Ace Popalot. Salute the almighty mob.